they wanted with that
Yes.
situation, and then they also wanted to dissolve the presidium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was interesting.
Yeah, well, it was interesting, but also a bit of a familiar move to kind of rattle persons. I think coming from and I mentioned it last week as well on the radio from a former colleague
Hmm.
that didn't get back his seat. But yeah, so I think that was interesting. But this is just it's just a meeting to handle credentials. That's
Hmm.
essentially what it is, and we can try to play politics as much as we want, but at the end of the day, it's something related to the Constitution.
Hmm.
The Constitution says we have to be 15 members. So we all swore an oath on the 10th of February to uphold said
Right.
Constitution. So that I think is what
So
anybody.
regardless of what's been going on, it has to happen some way or the
Yeah,
other.
some way or the other, it has
Whether
to happen.
opposition is involved, whether the current coalition has
Yeah.
armed enough members
On
to
a,
have
an
meetings.
attempt, yeah, an attempt at such a standoff, I think, was done in Curacao as well previously, and ultimately, they ended up giving quorum, and I think it was just an attempt to kind of drag it and just kind of
Mhm.
embarrass, coalition, but it's yeah. Again, it is our constitutional duty, so
Right.
let's kind of just do it.
And we see in this case, as I've been on social media, the embarrassment looks like to be on the opposition. People are like, "What are you guys doing? Like,
Yeah.
let's get things
I
done."
saw that. I saw that. I listened to Lady Grace's open mic, and I just reading comments and such, even from people that you can kind of say have historically supported
Yeah.
the two parties in opposition. It's your own supporters are calling you clowns.
Yeah.
So I think that to me would lead to, oh my gosh, maybe I it was at that moment I realized I made a mistake.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be happening. I mean, I hope it has happened,
Mhm.
and we'll see what happens when everyone is back from Perlatino.
Now, I do know that a letter from the faction leader of the Up Party, which is Omar Otley,
Yes.
he sent a letter to the President of Parliament last week stating that we need to call an urgent meeting.
Yes.
But however, I didn't think that was going to happen because some of those members were away in Paraguay. I
Yes,
believe,
yes, correct.
including Severia Jacobs.
MP Jacobs was,
Right.
yeah, with MP Westcott, MP Emmanuel, and MP
Exactly.
Roseberg, yes. And but more interestingly, their travel delegation also included the Secretary General of Parliament. And you cannot have a meeting without a Rifir.
Without the Rifir,
So even though I think they banked on as second vice president, I'm here.
Mhm.
I could not call a meeting even if I wanted to. So it's that too. Because they reached out and they said, yeah, we could do this, and I'm like, well, we actually can't.
Okay.
I think in the
So that's
haste,
one of the rules of Parliament.
you have to have, yes. In fact, it's so funny. We had one time where MP Helga Martin was president of Parliament, and she banged the gavel to start the meeting, and we
Right.
were like, the SG is not there,
Oh.
because I think in the bustle of everything she forgot, so she had to just bang again, and just we couldn't start.
Right.
So I think that's one of the reasons why that meeting request could not have been
Yeah.
honored.
I think there's a lot of things that happen within Parliament that people still don't understand. Okay,
Yeah.
we understand the whole part with the quorum. Okay, there needs to be at least 8+1. How does that go again to have quorum?
Half
Quorum
half
means
plus one, yeah.
Yeah, half
Half
plus
plus
one.
one.
So that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But then also, which I've learned now, that you need to have a khafiyah
Yeah.
there for a meeting to take
Yeah,
place.
there's someone has to be there to take the notes, take the
Right.
and essentially help the chairperson guide the meeting.
Guided
Yeah.
meeting. And the only khafiyah that we currently have available is in Paraguay.
Yes.
Which was approved during the whole voting process to go to
Yes, to go to Paraguay.
Yeah.
To Parliamericas, yes, and which included there was representation for the up faction, and one of the requests at the meeting was in the faction leaders meeting, where we said, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's surprise travel. It's not like anybody kidnapped the SG and bundled them off to Paraguay.
Mhm.
We all knew that this was going to happen. So hence the meeting coming called Monday morning, right before they had to go to the airport, actually.
Right.
So yeah, just to get it done.
Okay. So, but I did hear MP Duran, Egbert Duran. He did mention that why don't we have what was it? What did he say? A senior member or something?
Yeah.
He said he remembered it happening in the past.
Well, I will check.
Can you do a meeting? Yeah.
I checked with my father. He's checking to see if he can recall such a time occurring. I also checked with the current SG, and I think we will prepare a statement for that coming from Presidium
Mhm.
on the feasibility of such a thing like that happening. But I don't think, I mean, if it could happen the way that it was said, then in that same meeting where MP Heiliger Martin accidentally opened it up, MP Pantaflet and MP Westcott were in the hall. So they, either one of them could have, if that's the thinking and if that's how it goes,
right.
But that didn't happen then. So yeah.
And I do know that we do have a second.
Yes, we have a first acting Secretary General. She will be starting, I think, this week. If not, I think the 1st of June.
Okay.
I thought I heard that it was going to be this week, but in any event, she's not started as yet. So yeah.
Yeah, I know some members will be going to Par Latino today.
Yes, yes.
And is the SG traveling with them as well?
No,
not with this.
No, not with this. Yeah.
Okay, but then there's still not enough members to hold a quorum, basically, for the credentials to come in. What about the aspect of, because I remember hearing in the past that a meeting, if it's called, by the third time, if it's called, even if there's no quorum, it can still go ahead.
It still goes ahead. Yeah, that rule of order was changed.
Okay.
It's been pending to be changed for quite some time, but I think and this is something that this is a discussion I was having with someone over the weekend, because they said, yeah, but then this rule, it comes back to bite you in the butt. But I think many rules in politics, whether it's laws and rules, basically assume that persons are operating at a certain level of character.
Right.
I know older former members of parliament of the Netherlands Antilles, former chairpersons of parliament reached out to me and they were like, I don't understand. Like, nowhere do you harass the composition of parliament like this, because essentially, campaign is done. It's time to just do the people's business. And that's why I think I was a little surprised last week, especially at the former prime minister, for walking out of that particular meeting. And again, I say, politics, like, and we as a faction, PFP has we've left, I think, one or two meetings. As a faction, we've left one meeting for sure, and then I think former MP Peterson walked out of another meeting at one point in time. And we have made it very clear, even over the last 4 years, that there were 7.5 months where coalition required opposition to be able to make quorum. And even though it was said, we still stayed in the meeting.
Right.
And whether persons will say, well, we were too nice to opposition, yeah, because your business has to get done. That's the bottom line. That's what we're here for. So we'll see what happens when everyone is back from Parlatino, and yeah.
All right. Did the governor send the letters yet to the king? I know that was also another pressing matter when it came to the
no. I believe that there's been some correspondence between him and the prime minister, and that will be responded to this week, probably today. And yeah, we will see what is said thereafter. But we will be taking a decision regardless by the end of this week regarding alternate submission for candidate Minister Rami.
Okay, interesting. All right, we'll see how that goes. What else can we discuss to talk about? Any new projects when it comes to PFP? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, so I in my last live stream, because every Sunday we try to do a live, I mentioned that we would be launching. We had a side foundation. I don't have any particular direct role in it, except to kind of promote and encourage people to join it, which is Projects for Progress. There are some really great projects, whether it's interactive workshop or an actual at-home project that people can be doing. I can't say too much about it right now, but basically we have some of those coming up, and we're looking for persons who are interested in volunteering, especially if you're in high school and you need some volunteer credits, like us and Dominic does with Rotaract, I believe, Interact. And just to encourage people to come out and get involved in those types of community-minded initiatives. So the form will be going live on the Project for Progress social medias today. And I believe that we will also be resharing it from the Party for Progress side to encourage people to sign up and get some experience, get out. There's going to be workshops, I know, on renewable energy coming, on the hot topic of agriculture, home gardening. Hopefully this time around I won't kill a basil plant. So it's so those are the things that we want to definitely start to work with the community and also with other organizations on. So reaching out to the different persons involved in agriculture on the island. So just keep a lookout for that form. Should be going live this afternoon. And
Okay. Now from agriculture, let's move on to culture. Now, I'm sure, like everyone, you've seen this morning in the headlines. I think it was the Ministry of Justice.
Yes.
Basically sent a new policy to the National Gazette, or a policy was published in the National Gazette when it pertains to Carnival, which was a surprise to me. I'm still a little confused. I didn't get to read the whole policy or whatever, but I don't know if you got a chance to do it yourself. But what are some of your thoughts on that?
So I read. I haven't read it in depth. I started reading it. I found it a little interesting that they had like a stakeholders breakdown with like structured blocks, and essentially Carnival at the center, and then at primary stakeholders it had the Carnival Music Association, Government of St. Martin, and the St. Martin Cultural Development Foundation. So then on secondary stakeholders they had like booth holders, vendors, etc. And then thereafter NGOs as tertiary stakeholders and educational institutions. And it just kind of made it seem like general affairs was holding the overall bag, I guess, which I thought was strange. And then thereafter the other ministries would kind of outline what their role would be.
That's what I thought.
In Carnival. So on at first glance, look, I understand the need for a structured management approach to Carnival. If you continue to leave it in the hands of just persons to interpret it as they wish, it's never gonna improve. But I think I also would like to know like the motivation, the plan, because there's a talk there's a comparison done to Trinidad, which has the National Carnival Commission, and then what then is are we gonna have such a entity? And so the devil is always in the details, and maybe it's too in advance of this policy to see how that's gonna go. But I always question, like, where are those persons gonna come from? Who are they gonna be? What is the criteria for them to be on that board? Because that's really what it boils down to. You can put persons somewhere with the best intentions, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go the way that you would like it to. So I just got to, study it a bit more. And it's if anyone wants to receive it, it's in the National Gazette, the Landscourant. If you can't get that or you can't figure out how to get that on your own, you can always hit me up and I can send it to you. It's page 70 of the 10th of May issue that was just published. So yeah, I encourage persons to read those the Gazette, to read those publications, because that's where you see these policies go into depth that the press release doesn't tell you, basically. So yeah.
Now, someone asked me a pretty interesting question this morning, and I said, you know what, I know you were coming, so let me ask you. Now, this policy was written up by the former minister, or the Ministry of Justice, which the former minister Anna Richardson was part of. Now, I guess she was the one that was behind this policy. I'm guessing. But can such a policy still go into effect even though she's no longer, the Minister of Justice, or is there a certain timeline? I know after the elections, things were put into place that certain decisions could be made as well. How does that work? Because it's now in the National Gazette as well.
Yes, exactly. And it was dated April 10th, first of all, by the Minister of Justice, former Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson. So it was dated that day, but published on the 10th of May. And, a policy in general can be amended, it can be changed, it can be retracted. That's you see that with most of the policies. It's just that it has to be done in a transparent way, if it's going to be done at all. And then, that's a discussion for the new government to have and see if they agree with it, if they agree with some parts of it, and what they'd like to, take on or retract entirely. So, yeah.
All right. So there you go. Melissa Gumbs, MP of, the MP here with us this morning of the PFP faction. Anything else you would like to add, or let us know what we can expect in Parliament, hopefully at least when everyone comes back?
Once everyone is back and credentials have been established, I know one of the main discussions that I want to have, and that we've already started kind of discussing in amongst the coalition MPs, is this matter of actually bringing a national ordinance for screening, sort of like what Curacao and Aruba have, and to make sure that it is tailored, of course, for our reality, and that it suits with us, but that it is there to make it clear, what are the parameters that you're looking for when you're looking for candidate ministers.
Okay. Oh, also, this morning I saw the headlines: Sun Resort shareholders to vote on initiating Mullet Bay sale at the AGM. Your thoughts on this?
I mean, I've been saying in Parliament, as much as it may be uncomfortable for people to hear, Mullet Bay is private property. The beach belongs to the people, to the public, as former MP Peterson explained, over his 4 years in Parliament. So the beach belongs to us as most other beaches. But the property itself, golf course, etc., that, yeah. And it will be, I know that they are consulting. They consulted with the previous government, they're going to consult with the current government, but ultimately, while it would be good for us to buy it, I think I agree with the former Minister of Finance in the respect of we need to have a plan for what we're going to do with it. Otherwise, that asset just sits on your books, and you don't want that either. And that plan, I personally believe, should include a combination of a green space and development that honors that green space. Because if you remember the old Mulle Bay, like, you were in a hotel, but it didn't feel like you were in a hotel, And I think that that's kind of the direction that we should be looking for if we're going to develop, while maintaining that green space and, of course, public access to the beach.
Speaking about spaces and developments, another hot topic, the marketplace in Phillipsburg. We saw that just mentioned this morning that the construction of that will be halted for now. The vendors are now going to be more part of the process moving forward. What do you think about the marketplace in totality right now of what's expected or what we could get?
I think for me, and this is no offense to any of them, but I think that I've always wondered why the marketplace is not a little more diverse in terms of the products that they offer and such. Me looking at it from that perspective, even if I put myself in the role of tourist visiting another island, those are not the things that I go for when I go to Curacao, and such. Like, when I go to Curacao to their marketplace, I looking for, kolechi and like nice treats and stuff like that, local snacks and everything like that. You can get that there. I'm not necessarily looking for trinkets because you can find that anywhere. Things that say Curacao, you can find it wherever. So I think that's my perspective. I do believe that there should be consultation at all times, but I also want everyone to be mindful of the fact, and I've shared this with the current Minister of TEAD, that someone has to pay for all of this. It can't be that government or the country, whether it's this government or any other government, keeps building, and there's not some type of give back
ROI
in terms of sometimes some type of ROI, whether it's rental of booths, etc. And even if that has to do on a rotational basis, that should be it. And the incorporation of green, we've talked about it a lot, the environmental impact of what climate change is doing to all the islands, but we also have our own role to play in how that goes. And with you pave over everything and don't incorporate not even a ounce of leaf. You're just you're adding to this heat. And right now, town is a humongous heat corridor. So it's, I think we also have to look at that when it comes to developing that space.
All right. And people, this is Gumbs here joining us today on the Suppa Duppa Morning Show. Thank you for taking some time out of your, this off week this week, right?
It is an off week but it's never really an off week. So, yeah.
All right. And like you mentioned, so once Parliament resumes, definitely I think first on the agenda is the credentials being approved for the incoming MPs, which is Chanel Bruch and also
Viren Kotai.
And then you mentioned some other things that you would like to talk about. But what are some other things that might be in the well, I don't think you have your schedule as yet, but some other things that you're looking forward to that we could start talking about, maybe GEBE, the Telem situation.
Yes, the GEBE situation, of course, is very critical. Telem as well, and I know that the government is kind of getting their purchase on what is basically happening there, because to be honest, a lot of the information that we were receiving previous to this new government taking office, I don't necessarily trust it. So I did stress one of the first things you guys should do is try to consult with everyone and get the reality of what it is. And then, you can report that back to Parliament and we can see how we move forward from there. But those are definitely some of the topics that we're going to have to cover.
Okay.
Especially GB.
And let's just say the situation with Rayon Peterson, if he does not get sworn in as a minister of Romi, do you have another candidate?
Yes, we do. Okay. And they are already preparing just in case. We always try, like I've said it before, we try to put persons that we know can serve in these capacities. And so it doesn't really matter who it is, it's gonna work out.
Okay, there you go. Thank you again, MP. Thank you for joining us. Before you leave, gotta ask you one more question, which is the question of the day, facebook.com/laser101. What's the most comfortable number of people to ride in a car with?
It depends on the car. I don't mean to Virgo the response, but I need more information.
Regular 4-door.
Like a Corolla?
Corolla, yeah, sure.
3.
3?
Yeah. 2 in the front, 1 in the back. Because, yeah, no. I mean, I've been in Corollas where I'm in the front and there's like 4 people squeezed up in the back, but that's up to them to know if they want to ride like that or not.
All right. Laser 101 Station with the attitude. We got birthdays coming up next, so keep it locked right here to Laser.